We're going to turn now to discussion, still in the Italian peninsula, of family ties and political structure in Pisa and Livorno. Bernie, you're on page 76 here in the handbook.
Right. There's a problem with this presentation in that, as Magda knows, I actually plan to do something different. And I kept working at it, and it didn't work. That is, in the sense that the documents that I want to talk about, I couldn't figure out a way to present them in a way that would be useful to you. So I picked two documents, and we're going to talk about these documents, and I think they pose the question, and I'm going to add some other material, and I hope this will work as a conversation. Let me set the stage, and then we'll look at the documents. There is in all communities, but in the Italian peninsula, it seems to me in particular, a central problem, which is when one talks about the growth of the Kihila, or the growth of governance, that is Jewish self-government. One of the pressing things that happens sometime in the 16th century is a transition from a form of community, which in most places, Rome is in some sense an exception, but in most places what you have is a local individual charter granted to a moneylender who has the right to bring some other people. It's a short-term contract. He is there for a brief period of time. It may be renewed. It may not be renewed. Other people are directly dependent upon that person. At some point, roughly in the 16th century, and it varies from place to place, you get the emergence of a new kind of a community in which there is either a charter or not a charter. There's usually some kind of charter, but it's not any longer to an individual upon whom other people in the community depend, but you rather now have a community. That is a kihila that has some kind of license to exist. And that community has an elected board of officials. And that board of officials, the Parnasim, the Memunim, they're called different things. Those people now form a kind of autonomous government. That is why in the 16th century you begin to get in Italy the appointment of rabbis as official community appointees. This is a new phenomenon. That is why we begin to get questions of who has election procedures and who has the right to elect and things like that. Now, in that context, therefore, what you have is a shift from communities of families, of powerful families, or individuals and their families who have the rights and who bond together to do something together or not. This is one of the theories of the origin of the Italian commune, is the common oath that all these people took to come together in some sense. So you have an older model of the Jewish community now being replaced by some kind of an official organization which has the right to tell individuals what to do. Right? And that's not an easy transition. It's not an easy transition in law, and it's certainly not an easy that is in practice. And how do you get it to work? How do you impose rules on these individuals? But also in halachic thinking and in Jewish legal thinking, how do they come up with institutions and with ideas of precedent that will allow the community to govern these what in effect are family units, right? How do powerful families get subsumed under the community? Now, usually when people treat this in the scholarly literature, at least so far as I know it, what they're usually talking about is moneylenders, that is powerful Jews who had these money lending contracts. They had these individual charters, and now they become subject to, in effect, officials of a community who aren't even bankers, who are often not as wealthy as they are. There continue to be bankers in the community, and the question is, how are they subjected to the rules of the elected officials? And what remains to be clarified, I think still, is, for instance, what the mechanism would be that leads from this form of individual charter or family charter or banking charter to Kihila authority. To what extent, for example, we might ask, does it derive from the outside government? The outside government, in effect, is creating the Jewish Kihila. Where does the Jewish Kihila come from? It comes from a license in some sense, some kind of formal recognition from the outside.